Slasher films are a popular genre that saw heavy saturation throughout the 80s. Film series such as Friday the 13th and Nightmare on Elm Street were creating huge profits at the box office, along with cementing the genre into the lives of many American filmgoers. Most slasher films follow a common narrative structure, in that a group of young teens are chased by an unstoppable killer who takes them out one by one, often in creatively violent ways. It is also common for the killers in slasher films to have some form of mental illness, which leads them down their path of bloodshed. The use of mental illness in slasher films is something that has always been a part of the genre. Often, killers in slashers are described as crazy, psychopathic, or mad. But why do slasher films rely so heavily on the use of mental illness? To answer this question, we must travel back to 1960, an important year in film history, the year of Alfred Hitchcock's Psycho. Psycho is what is known as a proto-slasher, which means that it helped to lay the foundation of what the genre will grow to become. Psycho was a huge moment in film history that left a massive impact at the time, as it was one of the most graphic films that many filmgoers have seen on the big screen. It helped to inspire films that would follow, and in some cases it led to straight copies, such as William Castle's Homicidal, which came out only a year later. Any themes or messages that Psycho used led them to becoming a mainstay in the slasher genre, and mental illness is right on that list. Psycho's use of mental illness can be seen in the character of Norman Bates, a name that is well known in pop culture history. Norman has what many would classify as a dissociative identity disorder, as he is shown taking on the personality of his dead mother. He is also shown dressing as her and killing young women who have the misfortune to stay at his vacant motel. Psycho uses mental illness to drive its narrative and explain Norman's actions, but upon looking deeper, Psycho may also be using mental illness to show homosexuality in a negative light. Psycho's release came out right after the 1950s ended, and the beliefs that many people had at the time are present in the film. Almost any film that's made will have certain beliefs of the time present in them. Norman is a classic example of the Freudian homosexual male in that he has an unbreakable obsession with his mother. This is present throughout the film, as it is revealed that his mother has always been an important part of his life. Norman also shows traits of homosexuality that were common beliefs during the 50s and 60s. He is timid, strange, and dangerous, and he can be seen dressed in women's clothing later on in the film. These ideas can be attributed to how people of the time viewed homosexuality, as it was seen as a threat to the nuclear family model, and thus a threat to the American way of life. Psycho's use of mental illness shows how people labeled as different are often put down by the cinematic world, and the world in general. It is no question that Psycho had a major influence to the slasher genre, so it is of interest to see how later films handle the subject of mental illness as well. Fast forward 40 years and we see the release of American Psycho. American Psycho has a lot of similarities to that of Psycho. First and foremost, their name shares a similar word, and they are both films based on books that came before them. American Psycho came out in the year 2000 and it is set in the late 80s. It is a satirical slasher that looks at the yuppie movement of the time, and its use of mental illness is something that is ever present. The film follows Patrick Bateman in his day-to-day life as a Wall Street investment banker. Patrick is shown throughout the film having violent outbursts and torturing/killing whoever he desires. American Psycho uses mental illness to show the lack of emotion Patrick has throughout the film. It seems the only thing Patrick truly cares about is fitting into a successful lifestyle set in place due to the yuppie movement. And the yuppies is a term used to describe young white males who thrive during the capitalistic Ronald Reagan-driven economy of the time. They are characterized as spending in great excess, using money on drugs and women, something that Patrick partakes in. American Psycho's use of mental illness is used to highlight the emotional handicaps that Patrick has developed in his life. He is not shown as shy and timid, but is popular and outspoken. Patrick often tells people what he thinks they want to hear. And this harkens back to the yuppie movement at the time, where everybody was superficial and only trying to fit in with those around them. American Psycho's use of mental illness highlights the toll that the world can have on an individual. This is shown as Patrick is falling apart towards the end of the film. He goes on a killing rampage and makes a call to his lawyer, saying he needs help, and it is later revealed that his lawyer thinks he's only joking. His lawyer also mistakes him for somebody else, and this is a common theme present throughout the film. People are often mistaken for different characters, and is supposed to make a comment on the cookie-cutter lifestyle that the yuppie movement brought with it. American Psycho can be seen as a film about someone suffering from mental illness, seeking help, but cannot find it due to the state of the world. Psycho and American Psycho are slasher films that use mental illness in different ways. It is important to look at these representations of mental illness as films are a big part of Americans' lives, and by looking deeper, we gather a better understanding of the messages present and a better understanding of what is being said.